Good morning, dear students. Today I will be discussing with you on Human Resource Management, Module 3, Part 4. This is a continuation of our training. Yesterday we have seen up to the methods of training, and today we will look at philosophy of training, training environment, areas of training, and training evaluation. Now, what is the philosophy of a training? Now, as far as training is concerned, it is basically an asset. Like any other asset, the infrastructure or financial asset, training asset is also very important to be restored. It cannot be depreciated, and as a result, you have to appreciate this asset over a continuous period of time. Or, in other words, you need to continue to train people, and everyone should be trained based on the different types of modules or technologies or maybe a skill or a knowledge. So that should be continuously, there should be module should be focused on appreciating this asset like any other asset. So training, is it actually considered as a cost? It is an investment. Always it should be an investment. And training also definitely is going to make changes also. For example, there can be a change of attitude, especially when we talk about managers. We mentioned there is an attitude training has to be given to our managers, because over a period of time you will find that the attitude may depreciate. As a result, it is necessary that you should have a attitude change. However, in this context, let me tell you that training produces, actually any type of training will produce an attitude change, and definitely this will contribute to financial gains, or I would call it as productivity also. Now, another thing is, like when you do training, you are communicating that you are a person, you are a valuable person for that organization, and we require your services, and your assets, you are considered as a valuable asset. Like especially, if you take the word called as human resource, it is a precious resource, the most important resource. So you have to always tell them that you are an valuable asset to the organization. You are the person who are actually taking the enhancing the brand name of the organization. So this should always be communicated, and definitely when this is communicated, you will find that the training offered will be considered as very valuable by the employee. Training is a catalytic. Well, yesterday also I was mentioning this word called as catalyst. Catalyst means, it speeds up the reaction. Training is a catalytic, and it should be a permanent part of the organizational operational process. It is not something which is done once in a while. So training should be always planned. It should be a part of actually employee development, and throughout, it should be offered in periodic intervals, systematically. You can even schedule it over a period of time. Like that, it should always be continuous, and definitely you will find the results also. Similarly, management should be fully committed to lend its total support to training tasks. Sometimes we find that some of the management do not offer actually training. If training is not given, it will definitely lead to employee demotivation also. So training is always important. Whatever be the areas of training, it is important to have training in the regular schedule of an employee's work life. Now we come to the next one, which is called as training environment. Now, what is a training environment? The training is a training which has to be offered, should be given in an environment which is conducive for its training. For example, training environment refers to the diverse physical locations, whether inside the organization or outside the organization, or maybe in a hill station, or maybe outside the country. So it should be have a if can be in having a diverse location. It can have context, diverse context. It can be given different context. For example, now COVID is actually an issue right now. So in the context of actually this disease, there can be a training. Training can be in the culture, based on the cultures also. Whichever culture, for example, if you are moving to another culture, you should be trained. So sometimes when you have to be trained in a different culture, for example, like in a different place or a culture, so that you will learn to accept diversity. So there are different reasons, for conducting training and selecting the training environment also. So a training environment should be designed to assist individuals in gaining work-related skills or competencies. Ultimately, that is what we wanted. People need to have should be proficient in work or in their competencies should also get better through training. Employees will be better prepared if technology and comfort environments with adequate, well-spaced rest periods are provided. So one of the things that you need to always have is technology, because we live in an era of technology, and environment. Comfort environment also should be provided with adequate, well-spaced rest period, because training, even if when people attend training, please understand that trainings are not easy to attend. They basically are a part of work. And when it is a part of work, people will get tired. So there should be frequent rest also provided when you conduct this training. A proper training environment will include clearly defined goals, instruction methods, and appropriate feedback. So there should not be any confusion in the training environment. Because of that, we require you have to we require actually defined goals. So you will be explaining to the people as to what is the goal of this training, what is the type of instruction methods that you're using, okay, whether it is a PowerPoint presentation, or maybe it is an outbound training program, or whatever type of oral instruction, or maybe paper instruction, or different types of instructions, and appropriate feedback also should be there. There are five key building blocks that come together in a positive learning environment. What are all these things? One, accessibility. The opportunities provided for training and the degree of openness within the company. How good or how much favorable is the company as far as training open, as far as training is concerned? How favorable does the company consider training? So that again, if the top bosses are interested, yes, definitely the training would be having a positive environment. If not, it may not. Okay, second one, this is support. How much support is given by the management as far as follow up of the training? Like, for example, after the training program also, is there a support? Now, for example, you get trained on customer satisfaction. After some time, do people ask, whether something is there about whether you have learned something on, or something on customer satisfaction, or do you require any changes to be made in that, or do you want to have another training program to see that you are understanding it better? So support from the training. Third one is autonomy, ability to directly learn process immediately. Now, for example, after the training program also, you can actually have a learning process can be continuous. For example, you may have a classroom session. It can be followed up with online sessions also, so that people continue to be trained, and sense of connection between the training and the training need. What you are getting trained and the training need. So training need has to be identified, and based on the training need only, you should give the training. So maybe if it is a type of product training. Now product training is maximum required for people who are in product department or in sales department, to some extent marketing department. So others need not have this product training. So for them it may be a different type of training. So you have to understand what is the training need, and what is the type of training to be given, how it has to be given also there should be there. And then transfer of training also. How much this training can be transferred into the real world is also to be understood. What are the areas of training? I will not talk to you about every area of training, but I will tell you I will give you a bird's eye view of what are the ways in which the training areas can be categorized. For example, one of the type of areas that in which you need to get trained is basically knowledge. Now, knowledge is not specifically from training. Knowledge comes from education or academics. However, I would say that knowledge also is required. So some element of knowledge has to be imparted as far as training is concerned. For example, knowledge I would say here as that it can be an awareness or knowledge also. Knowledge on set of regulations, rules and regulations about the job. the staff and the products or services offered by the company. So knowledge on that can be one of them. So we can understand what is HR policy, leave policy, or maybe the type of products that you have, the industry which you belong to. All those things can comprise of the knowledge. Second thing is the technical skills. How much the employee has been taught to operate a machine or handle a computer so that you can contribute meaningfully. Third one, social skills. Now, for example, to accept others, to have the right mental attitude towards job, colleagues, vision of the company, understanding and accepting, practicing that. All those things will come under social skills, or I would call it as relationship skills or interpersonal skills. So you can actually focus on how to be a good team member. That is what is called comprised of social skills. Then techniques also. Now techniques is basically conversion of the knowledge and skill to various on the job situations. For example, let us say a person has been trained in production. Okay, he is a painter, right? Now he has his job is basically painting, and he would be right from morning onwards. He will be operating the painting machine, but he should know what is the type of paint to be used there. All right, what is the type of paint that has to be there. Now suppose if the machine breaks down or the paint doesn't come fluently, of course there can be a technician to repair that. But if it is a small, or maybe how to operate this particular machine, he should be able to know that if there is a small change, small issue, interruptions, he should be able to overcome that. So that is basically called as a technique of applying the knowledge and skill to various on the job situations. And the last one is attitudes. Attitude training is also important, because attitude training, if all these things are there and if attitude is not there, then you will not get actually productivity. Attitude training should always be there generally for every employee, because attitudes will help actually people in demonstrating employee loyalty, support, and commitment to company activities. Now the next one is on training evaluation. Why should we when we conduct a training? But if you are not measuring, then you are not really practicing. For example, that is a saying which goes across. If you are not evaluating your performance, you are only practicing. So evaluation is always a necessary thing as far as any program is concerned, and more so in training evaluation also. Now, what is training evaluation? Training evaluation involves the assessment of effectiveness of the training program. Effectiveness of the training program. So this can be taken, from the people as to their expectations and what they have achieved. So here, what trainers do is they will be collecting data on whether participants are satisfied with the deliverables of the training program, whether they learned something from the training and are able to apply those skills in the workplace. And there are different ways in which you collect this data also. I'm sure that whenever you participate today in a training program, people would have asked for a feedback. Now, the feedback is basically the training evaluation. Sometimes it's collected orally, and sometimes it is collected as in a hard copy also, in a feedback sheet. Now, usually now most of the training programs, they do it through feedback. Whenever it is an organizational one, they collect feedback on various things: content of the training program, mode of the method of giving the training, trainers evaluation, then the environment feedback on about the environment, and whether it was useful, whether they have the competency, that they have understood whether they have achieved the competency required. All these things will become a part of training evaluation. Also, training evaluation can check whether the training can fill the competency gap for which the organization has conducted training. Now, whether the competency, the person has achieved the competency, and the competency, giving that competency, how much money has been spent, whether it was cost effective or not. So, they will also try to understand whether the trainer or the training area or the training uh, environment were all cost effective. All right. Now, evaluation ensures accountability also, whether the competency gap and the deliverables are not compromised. Now, you go for a training program to achieve certain things, and at the end of the day, you understand that that the training program did not make use did not prove to fill up the competency gap. You have not, or in other words, you have not learned much from the training program. That means there is a problem in accountability. The trainer who has devised the training program, or the person who has devised the training program, the trainer who conducted the training program, or maybe the areas which has been identified, or the need assessment as far as training was not properly done. So training evaluation should ensure accountability to see that the training need assessment is done, the content is delivered, the delivered content is in the proper shape, people have learned it, and it was actually effective also. So that is called as accountability. Also, the cost of the training is also important. You have to mention as to you have to understand as to how much cost, and whether it has been suited for the budget also. Based on the budget, how much was the money spent on this. And finally, feedback to the trainer also, so that the trainer can improve or maybe change some of the training process also. I will be teaching only one of the model of training evaluation. It is called as Kirkpatrick's model of training evaluation. Most widely used evaluation model, simple, flexible and complete, and the 4 levels are described by Kirkpatrick are as given below. Now we'll start with level 4. The degree to which targeted outcomes occur as a result of the training and the support and accountability package. Level 3, behavior. The degree to which participants apply what they learned during training when they are back on the job. Level 2, learning. The degree to which participants acquire intended knowledge, skills, attitude, confidence and commitment based on their participation in the training. And level 1, reaction. To the degree to which participants have found that the training was engaging and relevant to their jobs. Let us analyze one by one. Well, let us look at the first one, which is called as level 4 results, because that is the main thing that we are interested in. Now results is actually the degree to which the targeted outcomes. For example, you have gone for a training on business skills. So that the targeted outcome should be customer satisfaction, employee engagement, sales volume, cost containment, quality, market share. These are all basically the indicators that you want to learn. Now, it is so here actually the results. Now, after coming back from the training, according to Kirkpatrick model, after coming back from the training, the employee should be able to demonstrate all these things or show results in all these things as far as customer satisfaction, employee engagement, sales volume. So customer satisfaction. So you may try to take actually a survey to find out whether the customer satisfaction before the training and after the training has improved or not. Or it may be the type of employee engagement, whether the person has been able to engage or do much better jobs, more jobs at the same time or at the least time. So employee engagement is there. Then can be sales volume, whether the volume in sales has improved, whether cost associated with sales have improved, quality of the product, quality of the salesman has improved, and the market share has also improved. So this can be some of the learning events as far as business professional, and you have to look at what are the results. Now the results can be identified by looking at the training need assessment. So based on the training need assessment only, you are identifying what are the things that the person has to learn, and once he comes back after the training, whether it is demonstrated or not. Next one talks about behavior. Now behavior is like the critical behaviors that are demonstrated after the training. What are the changes in the behavior which has happened as far as the employee is concerned? Now critical behaviors are very important. For example, if you take the critical behavior of a teacher, okay, now as a teacher, we have a lot of you know behavior. We need to become, actually we should be proactive. For example, when I conduct a class, I should be able to look at your faces, ask questions, should have knowledge, and should have demonstrate the skill of teaching, attentive to everyone, asking questions, getting answers, coming with solution. These are all basically critical behaviors as expected out of a teacher. Now after the training program, Do I demonstrate this or not? Whether there's a change in that. If there is no change, then the evaluation says, there is no change as far as the trained behavior is concerned. Now, for example, there are leadership trainings also. Now, suppose if you're giving an leadership training for an employee, what all things that they have learned? For example, some of the leadership behaviors at work are initiates positive action without being directed to do so. Nobody has to tell him. He initiates a positive action or a correction without somebody being asking him to do so. Reaching at an agreement, whether when he has got a difficulty with his colleagues, possibly he is able to reach at an agreement with both of them. Inspires others to change. He changes and he is also a person to inspiring others to change. Works effectively or productivity is improved. He does his work without wasting his time, or maybe he spends his time on the machine properly. Motivates the team, okay, and then exhibits a willingness to take risk also, or maybe take even take responsibilities also, right? And in level 2 we call it as learning. Now in learning, it is the degree to which the participants acquire intended knowledge, skills and attitudes. Now KSA, or knowledge, skills and attitude, is one of the most important performance tool. If you assess a person also, knowledge, skill and attitude is considered to be a performance tool. Now this, in learning, now if the training has been able to contribute to learning, what all things? One, knowledge. Now knowledge is the degree to which the participants know certain information as characterized by the phrase that I know it. So if the trainee says that, after the training process, the trainee says that I know it, he is able to say that I know it on a particular context, then you can say that the trainee has achieved knowledge. Now skill is the degree to which they know how to perform. So he will say a phrase, I can do it right now. So that is basically the phrase that comes out of the person who knows how to perform it, and that is called a skill. And attitude. Attitude says that, I would like to implement it. Now nobody has to tell him, but he says that I would like to implement it. That is called as attitude. So level 2 and Kirkpatrick model of training evaluation talks about learning, and learning is actually identifying the KSA on knowledge, skill and attitude. And the level 1 of the training is reaction. Now, how was the training event? Was it good? Was it positive? Or whether it was negative? So that talks about a reaction. That is how a person will, oh, that training was good for nothing. That's a reaction. Okay. So or that training was really good. It charged me, recharged me. Okay. So that is basically called as the reaction. Reaction has 3 dimensions essentially. One, customer satisfaction. That means the satisfaction of the trainee towards the training, not the other customer satisfaction. The customer satisfaction means the trainee satisfaction towards the trainee. Then the second one is called as engagement. Okay, now engagement. Engagement means to what extent was the trainee involved? Like whether the training, when he went for a training, whether he was involved or not. He was listening to a lecture and he was sleeping. So that means, it talks about, the trainee is not actually engaged. So the engagement was there happening in the classroom. So engage classroom or in any setting, whether the person was properly engaged. And the last one is relevance, whether the person is able to apply something. So he says that, I am able to apply something, or I have learned something. That talks about the relevance also. So this is the way in which training is being assessed. So level 1, it is reaction. Level 2, it is on knowledge, skills and attitude. And level 3 is basically on learning, and level 4 is on results also. So I hope all of you have understood the Kirkpatrick model of evaluation. Please to revise it. You can also learn some other evaluation models also. I will try to send some other models also across to you. And thank you all for being in this class to attend about training. And thank you very much for being a part of this. Have a nice day. God bless you all.